This show is heaven's boldest statement that it's not about who's the most connected, it's about who's most called. This is God Made Millionaire TV with T.C. Bradley, where we highlight the risk takers and the resilient, the ones who were counted out by man, but handpicked by God, those who made bold moves, those who made God moves, and they overcame the odds to activate their God-given dream. Let's crack open the God-Made Millionaire TV bank vault and activate some God-given dreams.
Today on God Made Millionaire TV, I'm joined by a woman who has devoted her life to lifting others spiritually, emotionally, and professionally. From her early days with Youth with a Mission to running a major real estate company, hosting on-air radio and television, and now coaching people into purpose, Barbie Johnson has worn many hats, but her heartbeat has always remained the same, helping people realize how deeply they are loved by God. Her best-selling book, Sozo Living, is not just a book, it's a breakthrough. It's a roadmap to radical transformation, freedom from limiting beliefs, and stepping boldly into your divine assignment. Get ready to be encouraged, empowered, and activated because Barbie Johnson is in the house tonight. Barbie, welcome back to the show.
So great to be here, TC. Thank you so much.
Barbie, I have to tell you, I am so excited that you agreed to come on our show. I've got so much to unpack here with you. But first and foremost, I want to congratulate you on the success of your book, Sozo Living. It debuted on the Amazon bestseller list. You beat out some pretty high-level names. So congratulations on your success.
Thank you so much. It's been a joy. It was a joy to write it. It's still a joy to share about it.
Wonderful. Well, Barbie, let's just get right into it if we could. You opened Sozo Living with your own story of transformation. Can you take us back to a defining moment when everything shifted for you and how that lit the fire for your calling?
Wow. Do we go back to when I was an infant? Because there was that story. Basically, of course, I don't remember that, but the doctors did tell my parents I would never walk. And I was in a body cast for several years. And thankfully, my parents did not take the advice of the doctors who told them to put me in an institution. So I'm so grateful that my parents loved me in that heavy body cast around for several years. Today, I'm so grateful. I walk, I run, I do 5Ks, I work out every day. And that was God's first miracle in my life that I didn't even know about until I was much older. However, a defining moment for me was after my first year of college when I recognized that I so deeply needed to know that I was loved. I was looking for love in all the wrong places. That should be a song. And I was just lost. And I'm telling you, the Father just embraced me and loved me and showed me his Father heart. And since that time, many years ago, 42 years ago now, it has been my passion to let people know that they are loved.
Wow. And it started from that moment.
It really did. I was an angry teenager. My mom had been divorced 3 times. And I just decided, I just didn't want to have anything to do with men because I saw them hurt my mom. And at the same time, I just thought, and I can hurt them as much as they hurt my mom. And so I was just angry. I was just angry in so many ways. And again, when the Lord showed me his amazing love and I surrendered my life to Jesus, I then didn't want anything to do with boys because they hindered my walk with God. However, here we are, 40 years this year. I will be married to my amazing husband.
Yes, he is amazing. I would tell you that. I've met him personally, and what an incredible couple. You guys are a kingdom couple if there ever was one. You know, Barbie, I want to stay with you on this journey. At just 21 years old, you started with Youth with a Mission. What did those early experiences teach you about people, purpose, and the power of saying yes to God?
You know, I did. It was my first year of college. After that year is when I surrendered. And I did go to college for a while, but my heart was really to just be in full-time ministry. And that's when I learned about Youth with a Mission. So I went from living in Charlotte, North Carolina, over to the main base for YWAM in Kona, Hawaii. I felt like that was a great place to suffer for Jesus. And but being there, I was just so in love with the Lord. Like I said, back then I would have been labeled a Jesus freak because I didn't want to have anything to do with boys. But here we were, 40 young people, late teens to early 20s, and there were hormones raging. And I'm just like, back off. You know, I don't want anything to do with that. From there, we went to the Philippines, served there, lived on an island with no running water and no electricity. And our team was the drama. I know you can't imagine that I'm dramatic. Yet here we were, and we got to lead and do youth camps and see so many people come to Jesus, so many young people, and we got to help churches kind of get off the ground there in the Philippines. So that was an amazing time. And yet, even before we went to the Philippines with YWAM, I was able to go with a team of 10 to a leper colony on Molokai, Hawaii. That was, they prayed about who should go on this outreach, and I was one of those 10. And to get there, we literally had to get in a 4-seater airplane that flew off of a cliff. It was either ride a donkey or take the airplane to that leper colony because they had to be, you know, so isolated. And so we went off that cliff and made our way to that leper colony, and that was truly life-changing for me. It was life-changing to see these precious people that were just there waiting to die. So when they took us and we landed, and I first got a glimpse of these people living in the leper colony, I asked the guide that brought us there if we could touch them. And he said, yes, you can touch them. They're no longer contagious. And so I sat down with this woman, and I was just 21, and she was in her late 70s. And the sadness in her eyes, TC, I'll never forget that because of everything she'd been through, and she's so isolated. They had their little community, but not their families, not their friends for life, you know. And so I put my hand on her shoulder, and we talked for a while, and I prayed with her. And then before I left, I just asked her if I could hug her. And we hugged each other, and we embraced, both of us sobbing.
Wow.
Me sobbing because the lack of hope that she felt, and I got to share that, the hope of Jesus with her and the hope of healing, and yet sobbing because I knew I probably wouldn't see her again on this side of heaven. And then I think the sobs from her were from, first of all, who knows when was the last time she was hugged and embraced and held. And just the sadness just kept pouring out of her. And that truly was life-changing for me. I knew at that point I wanted to just spread his love in such a big way, in a powerful way, and pray for healing and see people healed to be able to live the sozo life that Jesus came that we would have.
You know, Barbie, it amazes me because there's so many counterfeits in the world today. And what I love about your story and what you're describing is it's an authentic love that you're talking about. And when you feel it, you know it. And I just, what an amazing experience there in that leper colony.
Mm-hmm. It was so unusual because it's so countercultural, right? We read about it in the Bible. We read about Jesus healing the 10 lepers. And yet here we were back then in the mid-'80s where there were still people with leprosy waiting to die on a little leper colony. Yeah. So it was, I'm so grateful for that opportunity.
Well, I'm grateful you had it too. And it just, I can tell just the way that you tell the story. It is so authentic and so real. And I think if you ever taste the authentic, if you ever get a grasp of the authenticness of love, you'll never be the same. And the fact that you had it at such a young age, certainly it shaped you for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. There's been over the years, of course, so much I've learned about him, so much I've learned about people. I came up with this years ago, this saying, because it was so deep in my heart, that when we know we're well loved, we can love well. And when we encounter, because in the business world, and of course in real estate, you encounter a lot of emotion with clients, with other agents, with lenders, with all of it. And years ago, I realized we have to look below the behavior. What is going on really with that person? Why are they angry? Why are they hateful? Why are they sad? And the reality is because they don't know that they're loved. Because when we know that we are fully loved, we just live out of that place. Now, do I remember it every moment of every day? Nope, I do not. So when I experience in myself where I get, I get angry real fast or something, I just stop and I have to run to the Father and just say, remind me that I'm loved. Because when we know we're well loved, we can love well.
You know, Barbie, I didn't say this during the introduction, but I'm going to bring it up now. But I've known you for a number of years, and I know something that I want to share with you. And when I say with you, I'm talking about our listeners at home. But you had an encounter with Muhammad Ali, and with the Muhammad Ali, it sort of bookends the Hawaii experience, and that's the reason I bring it up during our interview here. Can you take us into that encounter you had with Muhammad Ali and that love that you showed him?
Absolutely. Of course, back in the day, he was the greatest, right? He even told everybody he was the greatest. And I was part of an organization where he was there helping serve with philanthropy, and we were serving others. And so, of course, the first time I met him, he was a card. First time I met him, he said, "Are you married?" I said, "Yes, I am." And he said, "Leave him." I'm like, "You jokester, you." However, one evening we were at a very special banquet dinner, and we were at a table at the front, and I really don't know how it ended up being just me and Muhammad Ali at this dinner, at this table. But that's actually, the dinner was full of people. We're at a table up front, a round table, just the two of us. And I had on a red sequin gown, and he was, decked out. And as we started eating, the Parkinson's had really been taking effect. And him eating, it was, he was spilling food. He couldn't get everything to his mouth. And at this time, I'm recognizing that because he's right beside me. People are coming and taking pictures of him. And I just thought, this isn't great. We have to protect his dignity.
Wow.
And I just told him, I leaned over, I said, "I'll take care of this for you." All 5 foot 95 pounds of me, and I go across the table. So he's sitting here, here's the table. I go across the table in this red sequin gown. People are coming to take pictures, and I said, "Stop. Let him eat in peace. Protect his dignity. Don't take pictures. Let him eat." So I just kind of stood there. Like, and as people came up, I'm like, "Nope." And then finally I saw that he was done eating. So I came back, sat down beside him, and he leaned over to me, PC, and he said, "You are the best bodyguard I've ever had." And it was an honor. It was an honor, because we have to protect one another's dignity, and we have to love, and we have to serve. And he was the greatest of all time, and as far as in the ring. And I just thought, somebody's got to watch out for him. And I felt like it was me at that moment, because I was the only one at the table.
Yeah, he's such a sweet spirit as well.
Yes.
Yeah, he's such a sweet spirit. You know, Barbie, I learned something about you in our pre-production meeting. I know you've worn many hats: radio host, TV reporter. I didn't know you as a part of the paparazzi. I would tell you, but TV reporter, CEO, coach. But the most common thread that there seems to be is people and your love for people. What is it about loving and serving people that fuels you so deeply?
So one of my favorite proverbs is Proverbs 11:25. It says, "The generous will prosper, and those who refresh others will themselves be refreshed." And it is absolutely true. I don't know, I've got this gift of exhortation and I love to encourage, and it fuels me right back when I get to encourage people. And that's what I tell folks: if they feel down or depressed or sad, go find somebody to encourage, because it will absolutely refresh you. And yet at the same time, being able to do it knowing the love and the passion that the Father has for his kids and for those who don't know him yet. And that is really, it is what drives me, because I do want people to know how loved they are. I want them to know that they were worth dying for. I mean, we all were, and sometimes we just forget that. So it's really my heart to keep that reminder to people always that you are so loved. You are greatly blessed, highly favored, and deeply loved. And I want everybody to know that.
Wow, wow. You know, Barbie, I have to tell you, I acknowledge your leadership as well. You are such a powerful leader. God has raised you up, and you have led one of the top real estate agencies in our country. How do you navigate those waters between your faith and business and do that so successfully?
For me, my faith is my business. Like, yes, I do have the reality of running a company and selling real estate, but I see it as an opportunity to just love people. An example, I was just at lunch with a young girl that I mentor, and I was telling her that I sold a house to this couple in, when did we sell that? I don't know. Years ago. I've been doing this a long time. Sold them a house, and this was back when we would drive our clients around. We don't do that as much anymore. But this young couple, they would sit together in the back seat. So I'm literally just chauffeuring them around, and they were very sarcastic with one another. And then when I met their kids, they were super sarcastic with their kids, and I'm just like, you gotta speak life. You know, I'm trying to live by example. However, this couple, about a month after we closed on their house, she called me and said, "Hey, can I come to church with you?" I'm like, wow, I didn't even invite them to church. But I said, absolutely. Well, it was a long story. I'll try to shorten it, but got to lead her and her husband to Jesus. And they started coming to our life group, coming to our church, called us one day, said, "We're going to get divorced." I said, "No, you're not. Come over. We're going to talk about it." And the thing was, the wife had been married and divorced twice. And so that was kind of the MO. If you have a conflict and you're not happy, move on to the next person. And so bottom line, they didn't get divorced. They're still serving and loving Jesus. They're leading a marriage ministry. And then their oldest son called David and I a year ago and said, "Hey, I'm engaged. We want you to do premarital counseling for us." So of course we did that. And then they wanted me to officiate their wedding. So I did that last year. And then now I've just sold their house and I'm selling them a new house. But it is all about the relationship. It is all about being that light for someone that desperately needs it. And I just count it an honor and a privilege that my business allows me to be involved with people on a day-to-day basis, also helping people make the biggest purchase they've ever made. And there's so many emotions tied to that, and getting to walk them through that process and loving them and showing them Jesus through that process. So I love what I do, obviously.
Well, I want to shift a little bit. Thank you for sharing that. But I do want to shift into your life coaching business. You've been life coaching since 2001, long before it was trendy to do. What's the biggest shift you've ever seen in people's needs over the years, and how has your approach evolved to meet those needs?
One of the biggest shifts that I recognized in one of my clients, this was a woman who lived in Florida, and she was a bank vice president. She had been doing this for a long time. She was highly acclaimed, very successful. And then she and her husband decided to have a baby later in life. And when they had the baby, she decided to be a stay-at-home mom. And it was such a devastating move for her because her whole identity was in her title and what she did at the bank. And for the first 3 months, every week when we would meet, she would just cry. And my whole goal was for her to see her whole worth, to see that that title is not who she is. She's more than a title. And then all of a sudden, after the 3rd month, it was in the 4th month, I called her for our session and I said, "How are you?" And she said, "Do you know it is delicious to wake up feeling wonderful every day?" I'm like, wait, is this the right person? Like, she absolutely understood her value and her worth was not in what she did, but whose she is and who she is. And that woman, she went on to become a life coach herself. So really, helping people to know their identity. And it's real easy for any of us to say, like UTC, well, you have so many hats you wear. I'm a talk show host, I'm an author. I'm God's favorite. I've heard that from you.
Right. It is not easy being the Lord's favorite child, Barbie, but
I've heard you say that.
we make it through the day.
I feel the same way. And letting people know that's their identity.
Barbie, I want to talk a little bit about your best-selling book, Sozo Living. That title carries such a deep spiritual meaning of healing, wholeness, deliverance. What does Sozo Living mean to you personally, and what do you hope the readers experience when they actually read your best-selling book?
Back to the leper colony. One day I was reading the story of the 10 lepers that were healed. Jesus healed them. He said, "Go and show yourself to the priests." So as they're walking, they're being healed, and this one comes back to thank Jesus for healing him. And Jesus says, "Were there not 10, where are the other 9? And then he tells this man who came back to say thank you, he says, "Your faith has made you well." So I was reading that years ago, and I'm like, well, he's already well, right? Like, he's been healed of leprosy. So I started doing a word study into that word well, and that is the Greek word for salvation. And as I started studying that and understanding the Greek word for salvation, coupled with the Hebrew word for salvation, which is soteria, it is salvation that encompasses healing, wholeness, redemption, prosperity, all of it. And it also has the definition of nothing missing, nothing broken.
Wow.
So as I was thinking about this, and then I'm going back thinking about the leper colony that I was at, these folks had no relationship with their family because they had to be isolated, just as those with leprosy in the Bible. These folks did not have an income because they couldn't work. They were missing body parts because leprosy ate away at their body. And as I'm reading this and I'm understanding what sozo means, and when Jesus declared this man well, basically everything was restored. The finances, the relationships, the missing body parts. Those other men were healed of leprosy, and thank God for that. But this one man who came back to say thank you had complete restoration of everything that was missing in his life. And gratitude and thankfulness is life-changing for all of us. We've got to learn to live with thankfulness in our hearts. So that story there, I thought, I don't ever want to settle for a so-so life. I want the sozo life, which
Amen.
I want to remember to be thankful in everything. And I don't want to settle for anything because Jesus came that we would have life and have it more abundantly. So why do we settle?
Right.
So it's kind of been my heart and my mission to help people go for the sozo life.
Barbie, who should read your book?
Everybody.
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
Right,
I
everyone.
do think everybody. I've had people read it that are not believers, and yet they'll text me or message me and tell me how it impacted them. I did have one gentleman who goes to the Mormon church. He read it, and he texted me about how he had never really seen Jesus in that light before. So I think everybody should read it.
Amen. Amen. Barbie, we're almost out of time on the show. I loved having you on the show, but I would be remiss if I didn't have you do this. But I'd like you to take a moment and just speak to the man or the woman watching tonight who feels stuck, unseen, or unworthy of transformation, what you're talking about. What would you say to them right now? They've flipping the dials and they came across our show and they think, man, I'd love to have what she's got, what she's talking about, but they just feel like there is no hope. What would you say as we close out these last 2 minutes of our show? What would you say to that person right now?
So I think we've probably all been in that place where we feel stuck or we feel unloved. Or maybe somebody is struggling with sin and they feel stuck in their lives. And you know, the human nature is to run from God. However, the reality is we need to run to him because he is there. He is there when we're going through the hard things. He is there when we're struggling with sin. He is there when we feel stuck. And he is the one that will lift us up and raise us out of that place. And so my encouragement is to run to the Father. Because again, it goes back to when we know we're well loved, we can love well. And if we are feeling unloved, there is nobody or nothing in this world that can show us the kind of love that the Father has for us. Everything else is temporal. This is real. It is life-changing. So I encourage that person, go to the Father, sit with him, and just say, help. I just need help. I need a word. I need an encouragement. And he loves his kids so much. I know you're his favorite, but he will do this for somebody else too.
Barbie Johnson, best-selling author, powerhouse. I'm going to drop a link down below so people can connect with this powerful woman of God. Barbie, I need you to come back on the show. I need you to come back. I need you to come in studio because, hey, I need you to be my bodyguard.
Okay.
Because if you did it for Muhammad, you can do it for TC because them paparazzi are bothering me all the time when I'm trying to eat. So I need you to come down and help a brother out. Are you stepping up?
I'm stepping up. Have you seen my biceps lately? I'm working out.
Barbie Johnson, thank you so much for coming on our show, and God bless you so much for your hope and your inspiration that you're spreading, not only through your books but through your life. And thank you again.
Thank you, TC.